Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Kerrville Weekly News Roundup. We are your co hosts today, Andrew Gay and Tom Fox, co founders of the Texas Hill Country Podcast Network. We're going to run over our top picks for news stories for this past week. Thank you for joining us. And as always, I believe Tom will do the honors and kick us off.
Sure, Andrew. Thanks a lot. The first thing I'd like to talk about is the Upper Guadalupe River Authority, the UGRA. They have a scholarship for university students who want to get into water conservation or educational activities such as the UGRA puts on. And they've opened up the scholarship opportunities. You need to apply by March 15th. We're going to put the link to it in the show notes. But if you're an engineer, if you're in natural sciences, if you're a chemist, this would be a great opportunity for you to get some serious scholarship money if water conservation is your passion or even an interest. The second story I'd like to bring up is probably something I should have talked about before, we should have, Andrew, and it's former teacher and historian Clifton Fifer taught in Kerrville for about 30 years. In high school, he taught history. He was a track coach, basketball, football coach, and he is a historian par excellence. He specializes in the Buffalo Soldiers, and he's an African American. And he goes around the state of Texas and Kerrville giving history lessons on the Buffalo Soldiers. He can also talk about the history of Kerrville. He can talk about Native Americans. He can talk about the Texas Revolution. He is just a living historian. He's a great treasure in this town. If you've never seen Clinton, I would urge you the next time he presents. He was recently at the local library, the Holtzworth. He had over 40 people that he entertained talking about the Buffalo Soldiers. They're a unique part of American history. They actually were headquartered, amazingly enough, in the state of Texas at Fort Davis was their headquarters when there was a Buffalo Soldier. So if you ever have a chance to see Clifton Fifer, I urge you to do so. And I wanted to shout out to him for all he does for history. What about you, Andrew?
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, so back to the UGRA. So I had a mention of the UGRA. We're all about our Guadalupe River here in Kerr County. And for those of you that don't know, the spring-fed headwaters of Guadalupe River start right here in the upper western part of the of Kerr County. So they have, in spirit of trying to keep our Guadalupe River and headwaters clean, they have an annual trash pickup. They just announced earlier this week their annual trash pickup will be July 27th, and I believe that's a Saturday. They usually do it on a weekend, and it starts at 8 a.m. Everybody comes out. They meet at Flat Rock Park, and then they go to their respective places that they have identified during the registration process of where they want to help clean up, and then bring the trash back to Flat Rock Park at the end of the day. And UGRA actually will offer assistance to transport that trash if you need that for your group. It's a great cause to rally the troops behind, and maybe get some of your friends or family out there to go help. We had just spoke with Tara recently, and I believe the general manager of UGRA, and she said, I believe 8,000 to 10,000 pounds of trash is what they pick up out there annually, which is just an astounding number. It's scary to think that there's that much trash just hanging out in our river system at any one point in time. So it's very important. We're so prideful about our Guadalupe River here, and I think it's important that we make the efforts to try to keep that clean. Be on the lookout for that. You can go to ugra.org to sign up for that. And like I said, they just announced it earlier this week. The date for that is July 27th. There will be more details to come on that. And then my other story was about Kerrville Hills Winery. So this is maybe a little over a week old, but the Hill Country Community Journal put out a great article just this past week about the opening of this new facility from Kerrville Hills Winery. This is going to be, they partnered with Schreiner University and have secured a location, which is it's in the historic Weston home on a 30-acre university-owned property on East Main Street, where their vineyard is located, and where Shriner's vineyard is located, and adjacent to the main university campus. The folks that run that Kerrville Hills Winery, I have the honor of knowing them. I know they are super ambitious and have deep ties and roots into the winemaking industry. And John, the main guy, helps do more than just run a vineyard and a winery. He's involved in doing things like an incubator environment, and that he runs for people that aspire to open new wineries. So he's an educator in that respect, but just fantastic people. And I'm really excited to see how that project takes off for them. It's only in their first week. Like I said, the article from the Hill Country Community Journal just came out this past week. They just did, I don't know if it was like a soft opening or something this past weekend, but they had a great turnout. And I think that partnership between them and Shriner University is really going to pay off for them, but also for our communities.
I wanted to pay a tribute to a good friend of mine who passed away Monday, John Aceti. John Aceti was 93 years old. He lived as a full of life as anyone I've ever met. He had 3 distinct professional careers. He was a teacher and school administrator in his first career. His second career, he traveled the world with his wife on behalf of Rotary and the U.S. Department of State, or excuse me, of Education, helping local communities set up schools and school districts. And his third career, which he started at age 77, he became an author. I met him in that career. He was 92 when I met him. He just published his 7th book, and I interviewed him for his book. It was on business leaders of Kerrville. We got to be friends. Through that friendship, I convinced him. I didn't convince him. I pushed him to do his autobiography. We did an award-winning podcast series on it, and he wrote his autobiography. And so I got to know John quite well. If there was ever a life lived full, it was John Aceti, and I wanted to pay tribute to him on this podcast and say thank you. There are no details yet for his funeral. If they appear before we post the pod, I'll certainly put them in the show notes. But farewell, John.
Thanks, Tom. And I had the honor of meeting him too. You brought him to one of our podcast conventions that we hosted. And he was a joy to listen to, talk to. He had so much to say. And I agree. I listened to the podcast series that we did. And I think that we all look to try to live fulfilling lives. And he was an obvious example of a life well lived. So, yes, farewell, John. And with that, we will sign off. Do you have any parting thoughts going into the weekend? Are you doing anything exciting this weekend?
I
Any
miss
plans?
football already.
Yeah.
We're going to Lukenbach.
Oh, okay. And have y'all been there before?
I have, but my wife has not.
Okay. She will love it. She will love it. I think anybody that has not had the joy of going out there, they go out there the first time and they just think it's the coolest thing ever. The little post office and all the little different sections that they have laid out there as if it really is this little town is just, it's a cool spot. So anyway, all right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. That'll do it for this week. We will catch you back here next week. Have a great weekend.